Hello. Uh, hey, classmates. Jordan Proefrock here. Um, when I read the assignment and I thought about a leader, I wanted to actually get a definition for the word leader. And a leader can be defined as an individual who commands a group, organization, or country. Obviously, that's a pretty vague, vast definition of the word. And I think we, as American citizens, grow up learning of many different leaders in a lot of different aspects, whether those be political leaders like President Trump or President Obama, religious leaders like Gandhi, or business leaders like Bill Gates, just as an example. I think growing up, there's always a premium placed on being a leader. I know for me personally, I can remember being a young boy and my parents telling me to be a leader, not a follower, and I'm sure many of you have heard that throughout your growing up from either your parents or teachers telling you that you want to be a leader, you don't want to just go with the flow. So being a leader is definitely a sought after position, I would say, in today's society. And I would think that the vast majority of people would probably say that they have been a leader or are a leader at this point in their life. And because the word leader is very vague, I think it's also important to define or to identify what makes a good leader. Because after all, there have been several leaders by definition in world history, such as Adolf Hitler, who were a leader by definition, but were not a very good leader and used their power to commit evil and heinous acts against their subordinates. And I think the thing that separates the good and bad in leaders is definitely their leadership style. Leadership style is the pattern of a leader's behavior that defines them. In the business world, it separates them, I believe, from being considered a boss or being considered a manager. I've chosen to highlight a business leader that I know both personally and professionally to discuss some of their leadership styles, and that leader is Carl Proefrock. Carl is the general manager of a business unit in Trinity Industries called Trinity Logistics Group, which I am also employed by. And I think before I begin speaking about his leadership styles, I want to give a little bit of background on Carl's history and the company. Trinity Logistics Group is a wholly owned subsidiary of Trinity Industries in Dallas, Texas. TLG is or Trinity Logistics Group, or TLG for short, is the supplier of trucking and transportation needs for the mother company Trinity Industries. Carl is the GM of TLG and is tasked with ensuring TLG's reliability as the premier supply chain partner for Trinity, as well as ensuring that Trinity operates with a satisfactory profit margin. I work in the maintenance department for TLG, and though I do not report directly to Carl, our paths do cross in the workplace fairly often, and so that's where I can draw a lot of what I'm about to tell you is just from experience of working around him and working with those that do report to him. Carl began working in the truck industry at the age of 19 years old. He was a truck driver and team drove with his father. Carl drove a truck for about 4 years and then worked his way into the safety department for the same company that he drove for. Since then, Carl's held a number of safety-related roles with multiple trucking companies, as well as moving into the role of Director of Specialized Logistics for Trinity. Since then, he has become the General Manager, and since TLG is a trucking company, a fairly large trucking company of 200 trucks and 800 trailers, there's a wide variety of employees within the organization. This includes mechanics, truck drivers, and the managers of all the various different departments. I think that with that wide variety of employees requires that the leader have a contingency theory of leadership. And according to the contingency theater of leadership, the best style of leadership depends on factors relating to group members and the work setting. Contingent or flexible can be thought of in terms of doing the right thing at the right time. And I think that that's a fairly common goal for leaders, is to always do the right thing at the right time. But I wanted to add the definition in there to really back up what I'm about to tell you about Carl. The biggest thing in deploying a contingency theory of leadership is keeping the needs of the group at the forefront of the leader's decision. A great example of this, in reference to Carl's leadership of TLG, is how he is able to manage the vast differences amongst the employees and what their responsibilities are. I'll focus in on truck drivers. Truck drivers employed by TLG are typically asked to be over the road and away from their homes and families for 3 to 6 weeks at a time. Obviously, this is no easy task, and it's certainly hard on those employees to be gone for that long. And part of being a truck driver, you have to put in home time requests, so the company will route you to your home to see your family. Carl is always sure to honor the home time requests of drivers because he knows that these individuals need time away from driving and also need to be able to live as normal as a home life as possible. Obviously, the career path they chose makes that hard, but Carl knows that for them to be productive over the road, and more importantly than productive, to be safe operators of equipment over the road, they need to feel like they can go home and get that needed rest away from the truck as often as they need, and especially when they request it. This example also follows closely the path goal theory of leadership. The path goal theory of leadership specifies what the leader must do to achieve high morale and productivity in a given situation. Path goal refers to a focus on helping employees find the correct path to goal attainment. And I would surely consider this example of Carl's leadership style strength, because it keeps drivers both motivated and satisfied with their job, which leads them to perform better when working over the road. And if they're satisfied with their job, they're more likely to be a asset for the company and promote safe driving, which is always at the forefront of a company to keep both employees and the motoring public safe. Initiating structure and having consideration, I believe, are paramount for a leader to achieve great success. Initiating structure can be defined as the degree to which the leader establishes structure for the group members, and consideration in regards to leadership style can be defined as the degree to which the leader creates an environment of emotional support, warmth, friendliness, and trust. TLG has locations in Texas, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. Carl makes several visits to each of those per year and is familiar with the staff at each location. It would be natural for employees at the different locations to feel a bit apprehensive when Carl's at their workplace, just because he is a corporate leader in a very large company. Carl shows consideration with all his employees and creates a relationship to them that is centered on friendliness and warmth, and always looks out for their personal welfare and to ensure that they're happy in their job and feel comfortable to come to him with any issues they have. Being approachable and friendly is, I think, important for a leader of any capacity. But as equally important is to initiate structure. Carl is able to initiate structure at these same locations by ensuring the corporate company policies are followed. An example of this would be that if Carl saw a mechanic that was not wearing his PPE, personal protective equipment, like safety glasses, he would ensure the mechanic knew the expectation and requirement to wear safety glasses in work areas. Now, Carl would still approach this example with consideration and being friendly, but also would keep the company's safety requirements, at the forefront of his mind. And I think this shows both a commitment to the company and a commitment to employee safety and satisfaction. Carl, since taking over TLG, has been able to see TLG grow as a company both in overall size and profitability. And although that's not solely due to his decisions as a leader, there's a team in the back office that helps with a lot of different aspects of that. There is a direct correlation between the morale of company employees and the satisfaction they receive from being managed by a person like Carl. So I chose Carl because I work with him on a very close basis on a lot of different items. I know him personally as well, and I feel that he is a good leader in the business world and demonstrates several different leadership styles, and more importantly than that, keeps the interests and the best interest of his employees at the forefront of his decisions. Which make me feel fortunate to work for a company that's managed by a person like that. And that's pretty much all I got. Thanks.